Hello, my name is Professor Gwendolyn Hustevet. I teach in the Family and Consumer Sciences program at Texas State University. Texas is a state in the United States at the very southern edge of the United States. We share a long border with Mexico, and we have a long tradition of handicrafts in our region. I am very excited to be making this presentation about marketing handicrafts to the world on the internet. My goal is to teach you how to keep your local footing while going global. Let's say that you are here, a very specific location, but your buyers are somewhere else. How do you connect with your buyers? In the past, you may have had to sell your handicrafts to buyers from these other regions who would then transport your products to these other regions. These buyers who purchased your handicrafts understood what the buyers in these other regions want. But if you decide that you would like to sell to your buyers in other regions directly, you will need to gain this insight. You need to understand what the buyers in these other regions want. And what they want is an authentic experience. Let me repeat this. Buyers in other places in the world do not purchase handicrafts from your region because they don't have any alternatives to purchase the similar type handicrafts. They purchase them from you directly on the internet because they want to have a real experience with you. They want to be part of the world that includes you. For this reason, the first step in marketing handicrafts to the world through the internet is to learn how to communicate your authentic self. You need to spend some time thinking about what you want to make, because what you make needs to be part of your authentic self and part of your local experience. So consider, where did you learn the making? Write this down. Who taught it to you? Write a short story. How does it connect you to your world? What stories does it tell? For example, my grandmother taught me how to knit. I would walk down the dirt road to her house. She lived next door, but it was over the other side of the mountain. She taught me all different kinds of needlework. This was in the mountains in Colorado. I lived on one side of the mountain and she lived on the other. There was a beautiful valley between us. I would walk along the edge of that valley, thinking about how I was going to my grandmother's house and how I was going to get to spend time with her. I loved her. I still love her. She would teach me all of these different needleworks. She told me that she learned how to knit in a certain way, but that she wanted me to learn how to knit in a better way, a way that she had heard was faster. So she found a book, and we sat and we learned how to knit together. Now, whenever I make a knitted product, my grandmother, that mountain, that beautiful valley, are part of that experience. And somewhere in the story that I tell about my knitted products, I have to include enough about that mountain and that valley that the people who buy my product can almost smell the freshness of the trees. So, write a story. Now, think about the production issues. You need to be able to easily obtain the materials that you need. If your handicraft represents an authentic experience of your local, your life, who you are, then the materials will be ones that are easily at hand. You also need to consider your pricing structure. Do not forget to include the time that you require to make the product. Practice making the product many times before you decide on the ultimate price. Learn how quickly you can produce your item, because ultimately, time is money, and what you're really selling is your time. You're selling yourself. Now that you have your product and you have your story, you need to build your brand. Remember, you aren't selling a product, you're selling a story. What will people say about your product? You need to tell them a story that they can tell to their friends and admirers about the beautiful item that they have purchased from you. Let's think about some examples. Let's say that you decide to go with jewelry. Here is an example of a necklace that I found on the internet. It's shaped like a globe, so it feels appropriate. I found this necklace and I went to the home page of the jewelry designer who was making this necklace. And here's what I found. There's a gold ring with script and little diamonds on it, and a cameo brooch that's very fancy and old-fashioned. That doesn't seem to agree with the story that I thought of when I saw that necklace being held up in front of the window of an airplane. The necklace in front of a window of an airplane was very modern. The metal was cut with very clean edges. The design was very graphic. But here, I'm being suggested something more ornate, something fancier. And there's no hint of the travel. Who is this person that's making these products? When I look at her Instagram feed, I'm even more confused. So, does she live on this beautiful island, or does she just travel there? There is her beautiful globe necklace. You can see down at the bottom against the tan skin. But that product is very different than the other products that we're seeing, the rings and the horn-shaped necklace. Who is this person? I'm confused. Aren't you? Let's look at another seller of jewelry on the internet to see if we can find a better story. Here is a brand called Hazy Momo, handmade jewelry. When I look at this cover image, which is like you might put in your Facebook page or on your Instagram or Twitter feed, I see that it is something that the designer has painted that includes soft, beautiful colors. There is a hint of tropical flowers, and the logo for the name of the brand, Hazy Momo, includes bright colors and graphic shapes. I'm beginning to get a feel about this person. Let's look at their Instagram page. And here we are. Earring that's held up in front of a tropical leaf. Well, that agrees. Earring with a tropical leaf or two put on either side of the picture. That agrees. Smiling young woman, right? We don't need to know that much more about her, although it says on her page, Hazy Momo is a jewelry brand inspired by city living with a style that combines resort and urban cool. Each piece can be worn between work, play, and adventure. Handmade jewelry from Singapore. Singapore is an island. It's an island in the Pacific. So these colors, these choices, they make sense. And here is this smiling young woman. We don't need to know her name. We can just imagine her story. And here are her products. You can see that they have these triangular and circular shapes that were included in her Hazy Momo brand. Even the word Hazy Momo. Momo has an Asian feel. Hazy is conveys a feeling of mist and urban smoke, which fits with her urban and resort life. So she's done a very good job of presenting a clean, crisp story. Of course, she obviously has taste. She's thought about what she should sell. In order to think about what taste will appeal, you need to do research. Now, traveling is one way, actually visiting the place where the buyers live and understanding more about their life. But it's not the only way. Thanks to the internet, we can learn about people over a distance. The first step is to choose your market, just for fun, just to start your process. Let's say that you decide to market to a specific region. Let's say Scandinavia. You need to choose a region because taste will be different from region to region. You can do some research to see where products from your local tend to sell well. You need to look at the popular handicrafts that are worn by people in that region. They may have their own handicrafts and they may like to use imported handicrafts. Imported handicrafts may be part of their heritage. There was a time when Scandinavia was a empire, had empires within it that were involved in international trade. They still are, in fact. Many of the largest shipping companies are based in Scandinavia. So, as you look at pictures of the lifestyle of people in this region, you may begin to see handicrafts that come from your part of the world. Let's say that you're in Egypt. Then there is a relationship with people who are in France, people who are in Great Britain, and your region that has to do with trade that has been established over a very long period of time. How does that region incorporate handicrafts into their homes? Even if you choose to sell something like apparel, understanding how the handicrafts are used in the home can help you understand more about the taste of people in this region. Do they prefer certain sets of colors? Do they prefer certain textures? Do they prefer certain sizes? Next, you want to think about the demographic of the people that are buying your product. How would the people who buy your products describe themselves? This is what demographic means. How old are they? Are you marketing to young or old? What is their gender? What is their occupation? What is their ethnicity? Some regions include several ethnicities. And what are their interests besides their occupation? All of these can help you better understand what types of handicrafts they are likely to buy, and also what is their taste. If you selected women for your jewelry, for example, women are likely to wear different jewelry when they're young than when they're old, because they may have more money to invest when they're old. Or they may want to convey a life experience when they're old that they didn't have when they were young. Does their life experience include your region? It's possible that they may want to purchase jewelry now that reminds them fondly of an experience that they had when they were younger. Once you've decided on your region and your demographic, you can begin to look through social media and find ways to observe them. One of the things that I do is I use Google Translate to find the words that correspond with the items that I'm interested in selling. For example, I know that strika means knitting in Swedish and Norwegian. And so I'm able to find examples of knitting on social media using that language. I know that the people who've put those examples there are from that region. If I was going to sell to Russia or the Baltic states, I would use words that came from their languages instead. Of course, many people speak English, or the version of English we call Globish, which is much fewer words and spoken more slowly. But if you are marketing to a very specific region, it can be helpful to know what your products are called in that region. Now that you have decided on your product, you have created your story to develop your brand, and you've chosen the people that you're going to sell to. Your next step is to actually establish your means of selling. Selling on the internet can be done in many different ways, but I have chosen an example of a company that was founded in Scandinavia called Ticktail. I have verified with Ticktail that they are happy to accept buyers from many parts of the world, including, most likely, your region. And very specifically, I do know that they want products and stores from places like Egypt. Now, this is just an example. There may be other opportunities that are available to you. But Ticktail has been set up to allow people to shop directly from these emerging brands around the world. They specialize in jewelry and shoes and decor and clothing. This is their main page. Do you see how this image that they've included right here of this woman is standing in front of all of her tools and her handicrafts? At some point, you will want someone to take a picture like this of you in your workspace. It will be part of your story. Now, you'll see that she's wearing specific colors and styles, and that all of the things in her work area also have a feel. She prepared this image carefully. So the reality is your work area may be very messy, but for the photograph, you will make it more clean. You may have things of many different colors in your work area, but if you decide that your brand is earth tone colors and wood, for example, you may find a place that looks like it could be a work area that has a wood surface and a beautiful goldeny orange adobe wall behind it, and use that for your photograph. Now, the service Ticktail, it has many tools that you can use to help communicate your brand to the people who might buy your products. They have tutorials. For example, they share information with you on how to set up your images. Let's take a look. Here they're talking about the product imagery guide, which you can go to at the Ticktail website. And they say that you'll want a roll of white paper, a whiteboard, daylight, and a Photoshop or another editing program, and a camera. Now they say that with a phone camera you can get a pretty good image, although they recommend that a proper camera or borrowing a professional camera would be the best thing for this particular project. When I make images for my websites, I always borrow a professional camera and then I return it. You have the white paper and the whiteboard to create a backdrop. You use the daylight to make sure that the lighting is very clean and will look very good on the internet. You can also use the whiteboard to reflect some of the light onto the products. There are many guides on the internet about how to take good photos of your products. But as you explore online stores, you'll see that it's important to isolate your product away from the clutter, at least on the place where people are going to purchase it. They need to imagine that their product is yours. So you need to take away anything that would make them think of you just in that particular photo, except maybe some small thing like the stand that it's on. And Then you can have other pictures that show the product in the setting that tells the story that you want to tell. That can be on your main store page, right? Groups of products together. So, selling on the internet can be done through a variety of different stores. Here in the US, we use a store called Etsy. Etsy is not available all around the world, however, and this is why I found this example of Ticktail. In your particular region, there may be an online store platform designed just like Etsy or Ticktail to market your handicrafts. Of course, there are other issues related to accepting payments and accounting for your products, making sure that you're in compliance with local business regulations. But I can't address those in this specific presentation. My main goal is to encourage you to, number one, develop a story about your authentic experience. Number two, choose a product that you can make in an efficient manner that is true to your authentic experience. Number three, choose your market. Decide who are the people that will be purchasing your product. Who are the people that will want to tell your story? And then number four, find the internet outlet for your product that is right for you and that will allow you to communicate your brand. Make sure that you choose your photographs carefully so that you can cleanly and simply tell your story. Finally, let me encourage you to be willing to try. Many people who have success in marketing handicrafts have had many failures first. The failures aren't failures, they're learning experiences. You have to understand what can go wrong so that you can use that information to understand what can go right. This is why the internet can be a very good place to begin to experience marketing, because you can choose processes like Ticktail that have free options where you can experiment. When you have your first sale with your first customer, you can use that to understand more about what you should be doing right. So you need to try things. You need to understand that a failure is just more information about what you should do next time. And you should be willing to try again, try something different, make some changes, and then try again. So I wish you luck in thinking about how you might be able to market your handicrafts to the world through the internet.